Hey guys, welcome back to the land of books and movies. And I am back after some excessive overtime with a big nope for you. It's The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. Which is just one in a succession of Conjuring movies featuring the Warrens as a demon fighting couple, much like the O'Connells as that mummy fighting couple. Anyway, the only things this book and this movie share is that David Glatzel was possessed, and during an exorcism, Arnie Johnson circumvented the proper channels by telling the demon directly to take him instead. Then there's the involvement of the Warrens, the stabbing death of Arnie and Debbie's landlord, and Arnie's trial and conviction. Now, grab your rosaries. I've got wrong mine right here. And let's get into what they don't share. Starting with the movie, which is more focused on the Warrens as demon hunters, when in real life, they were more like a liaison between the victims of demons and the clergy. Lorraine was a demonologist and psychic, and this makes me wonder what they did for day jobs, because how do you market yourself for monetary compensation as a psychic and a demonologist without being a charlatan? I said what I said, now back to the movie. It starts with the middle of the book, with David in the throes of possession and Arnie offering himself to this demon, and that's it. David is free, and now Arnie is the possessed one. Then Ed Warren has some kind of medical emergency, and Lorraine's spidey sense pricks up, and she calls the police to Arnie and Debbie's home, where their landlord, Alan Bono, is drunk and being annoying, and Arnie is hallucinating a confrontation that leads to this stabbing that the devil made him do. After this, the movie focuses heavily on the Warrens, rooting out the origin of the disturbance at the house where this whole thing started, complete with hallucinations and near misses. There's also a close call with Arnie in his holding cell, a brief moment at his trial, and the close of the movie saying he was found guilty of manslaughter, and he and Debbie were married while he was incarcerated, and then he got out early for good behavior. The book starts with the happy days of the Glatzel family, particularly Debbie, as she had just found the perfect place to rent for herself, Arnie, her son, and his mother and sisters. The book details how they met, as Debbie had a living arrangement with Arnie's mother as like a helper and a roommate, and Debbie and Arnie fell in love. And a more tenable living situation presented itself. And Debbie was also starting a new career and needed a better commute. Also Arnie's mother needed more space, and what they found was a very nice home with an attached apartment for a reasonable monthly rent. They're all excited about it until they get there. As they are starting to move in, they notice that the property owner's daughter, who should have vacated that attached apartment already, is still living there with no clear plans to move out. The landlady does nothing about it and digs her heels in about the rental agreement. And the unoccupied part of the house was not big enough for 6 people. And because of this dishonesty, Debbie and Arnie wanted to rescind. But his mother dug her heels in, insisting that she and the sisters were there to stay. And this caused a falling out with Debbie and her son and Arnie. Well, the falling out was between Debbie, Arnie, and his mother. So her son, and Arnie moved back in with her parents, and her brother's there too, David being one of them. Yes, one of which was David, who, while he was there with them helping with the move, he had this terrible experience at this house that came home with him. And it was not a hand bursting out of a waterbed like in the movie. There was a lot of ruckus, a lot of banging on the walls. He was getting images of a creepy old man he knew was a demon, and also several other demons in his his command, 40 being the total head count. So, Debbie and Arnie were not friends with his mom anymore, and she was keeping that rental, and they all moved back in with her parents. Now the book focuses on David. He is constantly hearing all kinds of ruckus, saying all kinds of profanities, and divulging all kinds of things that, nobody his age would know. And also visualizing the devil and up to 40 demons all in control of him. And he's experiencing all kinds of physical traumas, like the impossible contortion we see in the movie. He's not able to eat or drink anything. And even during one particularly nasty exorcism, his whole body just swells up to Marshmallow Man proportions. And it took multiple exorcisms, including the one where Arnie told the demon to take him instead. And that one was far from the last. This went on for close to a year, with peripheral intervention from the Warrens before David was finally freed. Afterward, Arnie and Debbie found an apartment owned by Debbie's boss, who gave them a break on rent. And he was a drunk with an aggressive streak, just like in the movie. But how his death went down is completely different. It was out in public in a parking lot, not in the apartment. And Arnie's sisters were present and saw what went down. Alan Bono was drunk and antagonistic. Arnie was on the defensive. There was a scuffle. A knife came out. Alan Bono went down, and Arnie had no memory of it. Prior to the trial, it is made clear that witness statements were taken from Arnie's sisters, who were minors at the time, without their parents or guardians there. And what they said and what was written down by police were completely different animals. When the Glatzels and the Warrens called the church for help, they were hung up on, had doors slammed in their faces, and were basically told to go pound sand. The book and the movie finally come together at the end when Arnie was found guilty of manslaughter. The book, though, ends on a bleak note, not telling us what became of him. The movie ends with notations that Arnie and Debbie still, got married and are still together this day. A much deserved happy ending. And that is it for The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Thank you so much for watching. Please help me keep growing this channel with your comments, likes, shares, and subscribe if you haven't yet. Check out my sponsor in the description, and I will see you next book and movie.